What's good and welcome in to the Honolulu Cheese Podcast. My name is Jose. Joining me, Ryan. What's the deal, my boy?
How you doing?
I'm feeling better, bro. It's been a rough week. I'm sure, as you guys could tell by the date of the upload when you guys are listening, we're late. This week was tough, man. I was sick. My whole family was sick. Is caused a little delays, but we made it nonetheless. We are here to talk about everything that happened this week, and it kind of worked out, man. To be honest, how are you though?
Oh, me? I'm feeling better than Justin Tucker at a massage table, my buddy. Like,
Oh my god!
no,
Hey,
I had that planned. I wrote it down and everything.
good for you.
Um, no, I've been better than you and Mito for sure. You guys have been struggling with some sickness. Your family's out there getting sick. Like, man, I'm pulling for the both of you. I really do. I wish you both well. I'm glad you're feeling better. I know Moran's starting to feel a little better. Like when I went 2 days without talking to Mito, that's how I knew he was like really sick because he calls me like every day. So, yeah, it's crazy, man. You guys just got hit.
Bro, it was wild. Like, so obviously, just for some context for the listeners, like I texted you, what was it, Tuesday morning, and I'm like, yeah, you guys are gonna have to hold it down, right? Like I just knew, I could tell, like I wasn't feeling good the night before, and then I woke up, actually before I went to sleep, I should say, because I work midnights, but I wasn't feeling it, and I woke up Wednesday and I was shot. Like it was terrible. Moran, when I texted you that morning, was like, yeah, I'm out too. So I mean, I just was
And
weird that
that
we both got
day,
hit at the same day. It was crazy.
and I was just gonna jump on YouTube and do something about the Myles Garrett thing that day, and right before I was gonna do that, putting my daughter to sleep, she's throwing up like 6, 7 times in a
Yeah,
row. No
right, right.
joke. That was that same night. Like, bro, just not to get too graphic, just solid amounts of food, like undigested. It was the most
Just
disgusting thing. Like
that's
I'm holding the
tough,
bucket for her, and I'm like, like, like just turning my own head so I don't be. It was rough, bro. That was a terrible night.
man. That yeah. Not to touch too much on the subject, but like I don't have a really like sensitive gag reflex to say like nothing really grosses me out. But when my kids throw up,
Yep.
sometimes, dude, you're like,
hmm
oof,
Or
it
anything
gets
else
you.
I'm good with, legit. But it's that
Yeah,
something about that, man. I just watching them do it and the smell. It's just the whole vibe
yeah,
is off. It's just
everything
terrible.
for sure.
But we're here
But
now. Sorry we're late.
better late
But
than never, man. We had to deal with life things. Unfortunately, I did get sick and
Oh,
stuff,
and
bro.
also, just based on the Justin Tucker joke, I learned something because I went and got a massage myself last week, tweaked my back a little bit at the gym, not great. And they asked me before, they're like, there's a silent button under the table that you can press if you want to alert the front desk of anything you're not comfortable with. And I didn't even like get what she was saying at first, and I'm like, oh, like if something that shouldn't be happening is happening. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I wonder if
Wow,
that's like, I've got a lot of massages in my life, bro. I love them, and I've never heard of that.
me
So it
neither.
was
Yeah, I was
like a
just gonna
shock to
say.
me to hear about that. But it was after the Justin Tucker news had dropped, and I was like, wow, that just kind of made me think of that.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, it's kind of cool that they have that though,
It is cool, yeah.
but
It's necessary. It's like a panic button.
it's something that shouldn't be necessary though. Like the fact that
Oh,
it's
totally.
necessary is kind of crazy, but like
Yeah,
it's wild, bro. Like,
yeah.
but
It's like
hey, I
metal
mean,
detectors at a school. It's like
facts.
things we
Perfect.
shouldn't have that we have to have, unfortunately.
Yeah, perfect analogy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Thank you.
okay, dude, chill, 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 chill. But anyway, man, yeah, let's go ahead and get into this football. Like I said, it kind of worked out, even though it was an unfortunate circumstance that me and Moran were sick and we had to delay the message. But we were able to basically take the whole weekend, and man, a lot of stuff happened, right? Like it's been a pretty full week, just with news dropping and we had the NFL awards last night, so I mean, it works out. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, but obviously the biggest thing that happened this week was the Myles Garrett trade request. Everyone's talked about it. I'm sure all 31 other teams are trying to figure out how to get this guy in the doors at their facilities, and he pretty much came out. Was it yesterday on NFL Media Row or NFL Row? And he was doing a bunch of interviews, but the one that I watched was with Mina Kimes, and he basically said as much, and I think he's reiterated it a few times. He only wants to go to a contender, right? So he's narrowing down the list to like 10 teams. And obviously, we're in a position as Lions where we're one of those teams that may be able to have our shot at Myles Garrett. And I'm wondering for you, is that a call that we should make, in your opinion?
It's definitely a call that we should make. You should never just let this go by without picking up the phone. And I want Myles Garrett. Who wouldn't? Right? The guy's an animal. He's up there for Defensive Player of the Year every year. What is it? 6-time All Pro. Just crazy, crazy defensive end that you don't. They don't grow on trees, right? However, I'm not. I don't think I'm willing to trade for him. Like if I'm Brad Holmes, I don't think so. And had this year gone differently, maybe my tune might have changed. But we just watched our entire defense get decimated by injury. Like legit decimated to where we couldn't stop Washington no matter how bad we tried in that playoff game. And we want to give up assets and or players to get a superstar opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, which would be great, but what happens to the rest of the team, right? Like, do we have that secondary depth that we desperately need? So we're not starting, with all due respect, Kindle Vildor at the end of the year. You know, do we give away Jack Campbell, a linebacker who has grown and become a really good player after a second year? Is he part of the trade? And, you know, of course I'd be willing to give up like maybe a first or two. I don't know, maybe. But anything past that, it's like I don't think so, man. Like we need them.
Interesting. Man, it's hard for me, right? Because like there's one side where like I get 100% where you're coming from, but then there's this other side where, dude, Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson is something that I just don't know how the other 31 teams in the league, and obviously we don't pay all other 31, but whoever was on the schedule next year, those other, teams, I mean, I don't know how they prepare for that, to be honest. Like, I don't. And I think that, man, to pair those two and where that can propel us, is it would be something that it would be amazing, right? And, then you got to, you take into, like how you were talking about the injuries, we also have to take into effect the fact that, we lost Aaron Glenn. We have a new defensive coordinator, so things will be a little bit different this year. Is it going to be a better defense? Is it going to be a worse defense? Is it just going to be the same? We don't know. It's all in front of us, right? But I mean, to add Myles Garrett to the Detroit Lions, I don't think it's something that if we had the opportunity, if he were to, if the conversations were had where he says, "Hey, I want to come to Detroit," and Brad Holmes didn't do everything that he could to secure that deal, I think I would be pretty upset about that, man. Like, obviously, there's a line that I'm not going to go to. I think there's some untouchables in my opinion. Like, there's 3 players that are just absolutely off the table, and it would be Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, those guys are untouchable. Outside of those, like, would it suck to see a Brian Branch go, a Kirby Joseph go, a Jack Campbell go? Yes. But to replace those players with a guy like Myles Garrett, I mean, bro, I don't know how many times an opportunity like that presents itself.
So, and I'm envisioning the same thing you are, right? Like Hutch on one side, Myles on the other. That like it makes you want to smile thinking about it, right? Like that's a football beautiful thing, right? But I don't want to get lost in the thought of how good that part would be without recognizing like our future, right? And I say this full well knowing that Brad Holmes has killed the draft so far in his Lions career, and I trust him with whatever picks he has, but I also don't want to hamstring our defense. And everybody wants, and I know that's weird to say when you're talking about trading for Myles Garrett, but and he's a great player, and I'm not taking anything away. And I know this is like going against the grain with this opinion, but that's one guy, right? Like, how much are we giving up? That's really what it comes down to. Like, Brian Branch is an all pro safety, as is Kirby Joseph. I mean, Jack Campbell could be a Pro Bowl linebacker someday. So you're giving up that plus a potential other Jack Campbell or other cornerback that we desperately need, or a D tackle that can cover for Levi Onwuzurike when he's not available, right? Like, these are guys that we were missing this year that we needed. And yes, we were also missing a defensive end. But I don't know, man. It really all comes down to how much they're asking. And Cleveland's not in a good spot, bro. Like, they're going to ask a lot. And Myles requesting the trade lessens that a teeny tiny bit. It takes away a little bit of leverage from Cleveland, which works out well for us and all the other teams going for him. But man, like, I don't know how much I'm willing to give up. Like, it can't be a crazy Luka Doncic type deal where
Right.
we're giving up the farm. I don't know.
So, okay, according to what I've read and heard, I think it came out the other day. An unnamed GM said it's not going to take 3 first rounders, right? It may take 2 first rounders and something. What would it take for you? Because for me, I'll give them the 3 firsts. If I can keep all my players and give them the 3 firsts, I really don't care. Like we're at a point, and I understand what you're saying with like the depth or whatever, but like we're at a point where we really don't. We need to be really selective on what we're adding. Like depth is always great, but when you're able to add a player like Myles Garrett, you can fill in the gaps in other ways through free agency. Like this isn't a midseason acquisition, right? We have so many other options of how to fill out this roster. And bro, if they want 3 first round picks, give it to them. Like Brad Holmes has found all pros in the 2nd and 3rd round, right? Like
yes,
in the 4th round.
But we've also found huge players in the 1st round, right? Like Gibbs. And I know we're not picking that high anymore.
Right,
and that's an important part to recognize, that we are picking late 1st round. And I realize that. But like my list of untouchables includes yours, but I would also throw Gibbs on there. I would throw Goff on. I'm not giving them Gibbs for anything. I saw some Browns fans recommending that, and I'm like, kick rocks. And I like Myles Garrett a lot, but we saw how crazy Gibbs is, right? Like, I don't want to move. I would be heartbroken if we did that. Like that would be really hard to stomach, even getting Myles Garrett back. So, I mean, I'll answer your question. What would it take?
Right.
Would I do 3 firsts? Personally, no. I would do 2 and maybe like a 4th. But we're different, right? Like that's kind of where I'm at. 3 first round picks is crazy value, even if you expect to win for the next few years and you expect to be later. I mean, look, if that happened, I'm not mad, but I would be a little like, okay, like I hope. And here's what I always think about too. I always think about, what if you give all that for Garrett and he gets hurt? Then what, right? And now you're kind of stuck in a spot where you didn't get anything and you lost your picks, and maybe he comes back less effective. Like, I always think about stuff like that, because that's something that, like, it gets lost in translation a lot, but like that's a realistic thing. Like Hutch got hurt this year, and look how much it hurt,
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's also something that you can't predict. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't like to do business on the what ifs, but I understand the point. The one thing, there's a flip side to the coin, right? So, and for me, it's not so much the injury aspect and the what if. It's more so, okay, we bring Myles Garrett in, let's say. We have to re-sign him, which means even if we only and this is where I was getting at. So we give up 3 first round picks to get Myles Garrett. We keep our players. He comes here. We have to re-sign him. We're gonna lose one of those players anyways. That's due for these. That's coming up on these contracts, right? And listen, with or without Myles Garrett, that's a conversation that Lions fans need to get very comfortable with, and it's something that we'll touch on moving forward throughout the offseason. I'm sure into next season. It's going to get a little weird with these contracts coming up, all hitting at the same time. It's been great for us now because they're all cheap and they're part of the rebuild, but this is the cost of being good at drafting and hitting on players, and, consecutive drafts or in the same draft, they're all due for their money at the same time. So it's going to be a little weird, and I think us as Lions fans need to get comfortable with the fact that some of these players are going to leave via trade, via free agency. It's going to happen. So with that thought in mind, though, that's where I'm kind of at. That's why I'm kind of like, whatever, dude, if we can bring Myles Garrett in, we know what he is. We've seen what he's done. His resume speaks for itself. Sign him. And if we got to say goodbye to one of those guys, it is what it is, man. Defense wins championships at the end of the day. And Brad Holmes has proven he can do it. So why can't he do it again? What's stopping him from finding more guys to replace him? I love Kirby Joseph, man. I wish he could be a Lion for the rest of his career, and he very well may be. But if he's not, I still have faith in Brad Holmes to be able to go ahead and find a replacement for him, like just how he did when he brought him in.
Yeah, and I like the cap space point that you brought up because that's further hindering our depth, right? Like that means that now, okay, great, you lost the draft picks, which means you can't draft players in the first round, let's say, but now you're also losing other picks who you know are good, which is even more valuable than a first round pick, right? Now you're losing those guys because you have to pay Myles Garrett upwards of 35 mil a year, which is definitely what he's going to demand. I think that's where like Nick Bosa's in the range right now. And where does this money come from, right? And like keep in mind too, we just re-signed Ali McNeil. We just re-signed Monty. We got all these great players because we've hit in the draft. And you're right, like Brad Holmes's upcoming drafts are arguably even more important than the ones he took to build a team. Because you're right, we can't hang on to every good player we have. That's business. We can't afford it. So, do you let these guys walk? You have to, but then you also have to replace them with, equal talent at least to have a shot. And we saw that our team last year wasn't good enough. So we have to be even better. So I know people are dying on the Myles Garrett hill because they want that pass rush so desperately, and I'm with them 100%. I just don't know if it's for that caliber of a player because he's so expensive.
Well, and not only that, we have to also take into consideration the fact that Aiden Hutchinson is due, and that bill's coming due quickly. So, how much are we willing to invest in the defensive line, specifically the defensive end? Like you just said, we gave Aleem a big contract last year. Hutch is coming due. If Myles Garrett comes in, he's going to want some money. Now, he did say it's not about the money for him. Would he be willing to take less to go to a contender and try to go for a ring? Those are the conversations that are going to be had between the teams and the agents. My guess would be no, because someone else is just going to give him a bag regardless. But it all depends what he wants to do. But regardless, man, you're talking about what, $70 million annually at the defensive end position, both left and right. That's a lot of money. So yeah, man, it's not for us to figure out. It's just for us to sit here and talk about, right? It's up to those people, and look, all other teams in the league are having this conversation, which is why you and I are talking about it. I think it's up to the people who make a lot more money than us to figure it out. But if it's a realistic possibility to bring him in, and Brad Holmes thinks they can do it, I have faith in Brad Holmes to replenish this team through the draft the same way he's built it. And hey, bring him in, and we'll see what the future holds.
And I'll say it with you. I mean, trust in Brad. That guy has my full trust. I should get a shirt that says that. Whatever he does, I'm with it. If we land Myles Garrett tomorrow, I'll be celebrating with you. I promise. But I'll be a little nervous because that's the way I'm looking at it. And honestly, just knowing how Brad Holmes operates, I don't see it because this has been a Max Crosby conversation for 2 years. The guy might as well have a locker in our locker room by how much we talk about him and how badly we want him. It just never happened. I don't think Holmes is the type of GM to just make those splashes like that. He's not shown that. So I'd be shocked if it happened. I mean, I'm hoping for it because I think that would be awesome to watch as a football fan and a Lions fan, and they would just wreak havoc on that line. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So just real quick, just some numbers before we move on. So Myles Garrett's cap hit next year is 19.7 million, and in 2026 it's 20.3 million. So whatever, 20 million each year. I mean, it's affordable for a player of his caliber over the next 2 years. The thing is, after those 2 years, what's going to happen? And with his comments on money not being the sole motivation and yada yada, does that mean that, hey, I'm willing to not talk about an extension until that time comes? You can get me for 2 years at, a bargain for a player like me, and then let's go for it, all in over the next 2 seasons, and we'll cross those bridges when they come. I don't know. But I think at 20 million over the next 2 years, I think you got to do whatever you can, whatever it takes.
But for the deal to be worth it, with you giving up that much, you have to re-sign him. Like those draft picks that you're giving up and those players or whatever would not be worth it if he's only here for a couple seasons. You have to re-sign him.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point too. I mean I'm almost of the mind where if you think that bringing in Myles Garrett gets us to the Super Bowl next year, like, do you just sell out, F them picks, and go for a ring, kind of like the Rams did in the Matthew Stafford
I knew
trade,
that was gonna come
right?
up, bro. I don't know. No, no.
So you don't, because I think,
Look,
man,
if you could guarantee a trip to the Super Bowl, is that the question?
no, but you can answer it.
All right, I'll answer your question. um, Man, I don't know, man. I have to say yes because we've never freaking been, dude.
That's what I was just saying. Like, I feel like the Rams, like, they hit it out the park with that Stafford deal, bro.
And that was exactly what they needed. But man, and you know what? The Rams are still successful. So
Bingo. That's what I was. That's what I was
know,
leading
I
up
know.
to, right? Is they had the one down season, and then they were
Yes.
able to retool
Okay,
without the first round picks. Without the
in
first
that case,
round
I'm a
picks.
yes. I mean, and look, maybe I'm not changing my opinion. I mean, maybe I'm just looking at this from a glass half empty perspective. I just think a lot can go wrong giving up that much for this player, and it doesn't guarantee you anything, right? So, man, yeah, if you told me we'd make a Super Bowl, yeah, I'd feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think that it propels you to such a different. Like, we were favorites, or one of the favorites this year, to return with the same team, adding Myles Garrett and whatever else we do in free agency. I mean, dude, it'd be crazy. I don't know. It's something to think about. It's going to be a conversation that will be had all the way up until we all get our notification saying Myles Garrett has been traded. Where, So we'll see. Hopefully it's Detroit, but
Yeah, he's gonna go to the Eagles and torture us all.
you know what? To be honest with you, I really believe that's going to happen. Howie
do too.
Roseman is a mastermind.
Not even funny.
No, I do. No, that's where I think
Howie
he'll end up in
Roseman
Philly.
is Satan. The guy he's unreal.
He figures it out, dude. I don't know
Yeah.
how. Yeah, we'll see. Some other big trade news, or I don't know, trade news. I don't know how big you want to say, but the Rams informed Cooper Kupp that they're going to be moving on. They told him they'll be willing to work with him to help him land in a favorable, place, but they're going to say goodbye to number 10 over there. Should there be any interest from the Detroit Lions? I've heard a lot of fans talking about this.
Yes, because I think this is a really good player who's way more affordable, who we could definitely use. And I'm a Cooper Kupp fanboy, bro. I love him. I try to get him in fantasy every year. That year he had when they won the Super Bowl was one of the craziest seasons you'll ever see from any offensive player. And I think he's got a lot left in the tank. Like I know Puka's outshining him, last year and the year before. I know he's been hurt. I know that's always a thing with Cooper Kupp you got to be careful about. But man, I think just imagining him, Amon-Ra, and JMO, like, sign me up. And I know he's very similar to Amon-Ra in that he's a slot type guy. He's not like your big X receiver or whatever. But I mean, how do you say no to a talent like that? And I'm seeing, mocks, or not mocks, but mock-up trades where you could get him for like a third or fourth round or whatever, and those kind of deals happen all the time. That I'd be totally okay with.
I even think that's too much. So just to touch on your cheaper player, Cooper Kupp's cap hit next year. Do you know what it is?
No, am I about to eat my words right now?
You are. I'm sorry to tell you, sir. It is $29.7 million, $30 million next year.
I will say when I was said cheap, I meant in terms of the draft capital we're giving up.
Sure,
like
no,
in
for
terms
sure.
of what we're giving up. The
Right.
cap hit, yeah, that's definitely a thing. He got paid. He got paid the big bucks for sure.
Big bucks. So it's $30 million next year, 27 the year after. So $57 million over the next 2 years. He'll count against your cap.
Yeah.
Does that change your opinion just a little bit?
Well, I think that changes a lot of GM's opinion on how much they'd give up. Right.
Bingo.
So is that why it would be like a fourth or fifth round?
I would, if we were to acquire him and they said, yeah, you got him for a fifth and a sixth round, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. If we were to give up a third for that, I'd be sick.
Really? Ah, man. Yeah.
I would be sick, bro.
So it definitely changes my opinion. I learned something today, but I would still do it. If you're saying a fourth round, I would still do it.
Yeah, so you're okay with Cooper Kupp coming in though? Like, you'd be happy with it. We'll make the money, figure the money out. The cap's not real, and just
dude,
make it work.
He's not even like a huge need. Like, I'm okay with the receivers we have, and I also think that we could help ourselves by drafting one this year. However, I think that he's he's still a great player when healthy, bro. Like, he's still a top 10 receiver when healthy, if you ask me. And I don't think it's fair to write him off that easily.
Yeah, I mean the problem is when he's healthy, and
Yeah.
he just hasn't been. He'll be 32 next year, 33 the year after. How much does he have left? I mean, he had such a good run, and like you said, that Super Bowl year, wow, like one of the best seasons we've ever seen for a wide receiver. But man, I just don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm. This is the one where I'm gonna say no. I'm all set. Thanks, Cooper. Unless he was here and willing to take less money, to maybe link it back up with Jared Goff, which I don't think that he will. But I'll say thank you, but no thank you. Good luck wherever you end up. And I'm out. Honestly, just to like throw something out real quick, I think he can go to the Raiders. That's where I think he'll end up going. To be honest,
I hope not for his sake, bro.
I mean, he's he's not too far away from where he's already at. He could still like.
It just makes me laugh because how many receivers have we seen go to the Raiders just to die, bro?
Yeah,
it's like the receiver graveyard.
It's kind of where you're at, dude. I mean, where else? Like, I don't know what contenders are going to be willing to pay him off the injury history over the last 2 years.
Oh, I have
that
one.
much money.
I have one. How about the Green Bay Packers?
Ooh,
man, I wish Moran was here right now.
Ooh.
Actually, let me just do my radio thing and segue real quick. Josh Jacobs, thank you. Josh Jacobs speaks on the wide receiver room in Green Bay saying, quote, "We need a wide receiver, a real wide receiver. Love the guys we have, but we need a proven number one." Is there an echo in here? Did I just hear me on my mic? I can't say we because Mito is part of us, right? Me and you have said all year,
for sure,
you need the alpha. Your best player on offense is now saying, "Love you guys, but we need an alpha." You know who's an alpha wide receiver to this day? Cooper Kupp. When healthy, he is. And I know people are going to listen to that and be like, "Are you sure?" Like, he's not like a Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra. He's not. We know that.
No, but you're right. When healthy, he's one of those guys, though. Like, as far as he's up there, people were talking about him as one of the best receivers in the league, right? Like, when healthy. The problem is, when is he healthy? And he's got to stay healthy. He's got to prove it. But
I mean, can I be real and not to hate? I'll take Cooper Kupp for 10 games over Jaden Reed for 17. Like, that's where I'm at. And I think any Packers fan who disagrees with that would be crazy because you saw what your receiver core was this year.
Damn. That's a tough
am I wrong?
Because what's crazy is...
Am I wrong?
I don't know if I can agree with you, to be honest with you, like, just because of the potential, right? Today, where they're at in their careers, I like Jaden Reed, and that pains me to say because he's a Packer, bro. But, man, that's tough, bro.
Dude, I think a lot of people liked him at the beginning of the year, but he did not take the step he needed to take.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was just like, in my head, I'm playing through his season. I'm like, man, that's it. Like, his last 8 games, bro. I remember I wish I had it in front of me. I mentioned this to someone on X, on our Twitter page. I'll try to find it and maybe post it to the Instagram or something. But his last 8 games, dude, were just not good. Like,
you want to know how many games he had over 50 yards?
Yes, please, because that's the conversation. I think it was 2, correct?
It's
2. One game?
One game.
And then it was 1 game over 50. Was it 2 games with more than 4 catches or something? It was like it was a really bad stretch.
With more than 4 catches.
Yeah, it's bad, man.
Yeah,
it was really bad.
Yeah, I mean, he had 3 for 76 against the Saints, and then 5 for 34 against the Seahawks. Like, that was his best stretch. And then, like, 1 for 6, 2 for 48, 4 for 46. Like, he didn't get a catch against us the last game. Like,
yeah, it was a really bad run, bro.
Just super disappointing, man. And I remember having this talk before the season started, the same talk we had about J-Mo, right? Jeremy joined us. Jeremy Reisman, shout out to them at Pride of Detroit. It was J-Mo's X Factor year, right? It was the make or break. You either take that step forward or we really have to rethink where you're going. And, you can say what you want about J-Mo in his year, about how great it was, but the reality is he got over 1,000 yards, and he was that number 2 receiver that we needed. He made an impact with a couple bonehead decisions along the way, and, those can be corrected.
Typical J-Mo fashion.
Typical J-Mo, yeah. You got to love him. And but he took that step, right? Like, he solidified himself as our guy behind Amon-Ra, and not one Green Bay Packer took the step they needed to take over that wide receiver room. It just didn't happen. So I think Green Bay should seriously consider Cooper Kupp, if not just for his veteran presence and leadership to show these guys what to do and be that guide for them.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point as well. Like what he's able to just add to the room, just being in the league for how long he's been, former MVP, obviously Super Bowl champion. I mean, yeah, it's not a bad take when you put it that way, you know. I think
if it's for Green Bay, draft like a 5th-round pick with a little bit of money, like
right. It's the money at that point, right? Just to add him to, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. That's not a bad.
Let's be real,
point.
bro. Like you invested a lot of money in Jordan Love. We can't go in this conversation without mentioning him. He's making $55 million a year. If you really want to see what he's made of, you need to give him a proven receiver and a safety blanket. And Cooper Kupp's the ultimate safety blanket. I mean, what more do you want?
Yeah,
Jordan Love would do backflips.
No, you're right. I mean,
if the Packers want to hire me tomorrow, thanks, but no thanks.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm gonna pass. But you know.
No, I mean they weren't a team
wrong with it.
They were not a team that I was considering, like even like in the conversation, but I don't know, you may have sold me, man. Maybe they should pick up the phone. That's not a bad shout by you. Obviously they in that same interview they brought up Devontae Adams' name, and which has obviously been a popular one for a while. Josh Jacobs co-signed with that one as well.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, you
saw what Devontae did, right?
No, what do you say?
He posted an Instagram story of like a pair of tennis shoes that were green and yellow. And of course, everyone in Green Bay just got super excited. I know he's doing that thing where he's like drawing attention, but he's just being slick about it.
Yeah, bro. The subliminals.
Yes, the subliminals. God, I hate social media.
That's crazy.
So that could happen too. And I think a lot of Packers fans should want that to happen too. And I'm sure Devontae wants to stay with A-Rod in New York, but I mean, I could see a homecoming for him too.
Yeah, I think that he should be in the mix as well. Why not, right? I mean, I think he's said so much without really saying it. Like I think he wants to go back. I do. I think he does. If it didn't end well there or whatever, I don't know the whole story, but I think that he'd be open to a reunion. And I don't know. I would hate it personally as a Lions fan. I don't want any part of Devontae Adams. But
yeah. Well, and also let me just speak for my brother real quick because he's not here, and I know he has an opinion on this Josh Jacobs thing, and I know he'll get more into it on his own time. But he pretty much reacted to the whole thing by saying, "Thanks for your opinion, Josh, but you need to shut the hell up," is what Moran said in so many words. I'm paraphrasing. I think he took it as, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of like throwing your teammates under the bus a little bit, which I know he's not the only Packers fan who thinks that, just kind of by browsing Twitter lately. But I don't know, man. Sitting here as a Lions fan and just being as objective as I can, the man is not wrong. And he earned the right to say that this year. If you ask me, he kind of carried you guys. So
yeah, literally,
yeah. So
literally, no, and that's what I was getting ready to say. He's the veteran that you brought in. You know, he was the best player on your team this year on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of people argue, you know, Edgerrin Cooper and McKinney on the other side, but regardless of, Josh Jacobs is a veteran. He was your best player, and he's earned the right to say whatever the hell he wants to say. To be honest with you, like, why bring him in if you don't want him to speak his mind and be that type of guy? And you know, I saw that some of the wide receivers in Green Bay weren't happy. Good, don't be happy.
Right.
Like, because I'll tell you what, if you guys were doing your job, you guys wouldn't be having this conversation.
No, 100%. And I mean, use it as motivation, right?
Bingo.
Like, get that chip on your shoulder.
Bingo.
Like, you don't think we're good enough? Okay. Like, we'll show you.
Bingo. And I don't think Josh Jacobs was out there saying like, hey, these guys are trash, right? Like, no. He's nothing. I don't think he's saying anything badly about those players. He's just letting them know, like, hey, you guys didn't hold up this year, you know? Like,
the part of his quote that doesn't come across as good to the other receivers is saying we need a real wide receiver. Like,
True.
That's the part. If I'm like Dontavian Wicks, I'm like, all right, bro. Like, we didn't need you to say that.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously implying that they're not real receivers, that they're Jags, right? Like, they're just guys. Right. So I get the annoyance of it, but yeah, like, it should annoy you, right? Like, your drops annoyed him. So like, go play better. I don't I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little harsh, but
Nah, I mean, you're right. Hey, play better. Do your job. Catch the ball. Like, that's it.
yeah,
It's simple.
just be
So,
better.
be better. But,
Speaking of better,
yeah, let's do it.
these segues today, bro.
Chill, bro.
I'm crushing it.
Chill. All right,
Crushing
okay,
it.
bro. All right. Okay.
Speaking of better, aka the best, let's move on to the NFL award, shall we? Let's start off with the offensive rookie of the year. Pretty obvious. Jaden Daniels.
Easy money.
And man, it pains me to say that after what happened a few weeks ago. I'm still not over it.
I know.
What a killer.
Yeah,
Man.
there's nothing much to say, man. Great season, great player.
Great season.
He's gonna be great, bro.
I will say that I'm a Bo Nix truther. I have been since day one. I love that guy. And if it weren't for Jaden Daniels, 1, we might be in the Super Bowl. 2, this is a sure thing that Bo Nix would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Well, maybe Brock Bowers. I don't know, but they usually love QBs. So I think Bo Nix would have gotten it, especially because he made the playoffs. But I just wanted to give Bo Nix a shout out because I love that guy.
You good now? You're done?
I'm done glazing, as the kids say.
We're gonna hear about Bo Nix all next season, leading up to the season, especially our fantasy talk.
He's
man.
got Max Ora, man.
Okay.
No, I do this with my kids all the time. I just mess around. I just say all these terms that make them cringe. It's awesome.
I'm out. Defensive rookie of the year, another obvious one in my opinion. He was the favorite like early on in the season. Jared Verse of the Rams.
Yeah.
Another great season. That kid was a stud. There was a guy that I was hoping the Lions would be in play for. Obviously, we weren't able to get him. No big deal. Whatever it is, what it is. But he had a better season than even I thought he would. Like I knew he was going to be good. I didn't think he was going to be that good, bro. He was like dominant at times, unguardable or unblockable, I should say.
Yeah, and other than us playing the Rams week 1, the first like real watch I got of him was in the playoffs. Dude looks good, man. Like the Rams kind of needed that, especially after like Aaron Donald left, and you just kind of need like a disruptor out there. Yeah, he was great.
Amazing.
It's a good find.
Yeah, no.
Didn't they have
season.
that defensive end the year before too? His name escapes me. It's like a unique name. I don't remember. Anyway, it's not important.
I don't remember either. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, but they've been doing well drafting wise so far, and that's why they're still hanging around. Good for them.
No, for sure.
All right, Offensive Player of the Year. This was the king of no surprises. Is Saquon Barkley. Man, how bad do the Giants feel right now? I can't believe it.
The only way it's gonna get worse is if he wins the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Yes. And I really hope he does, bro. I'm not. I said it last time we recorded. Screw the Eagles. Like I don't like them, and I don't like their fans or anything. But I just don't want the Chiefs to win it that much. But the worst thing for the Giants, man, is that it's all on film. You got yourselves fumbling the bag on film. They made a
for the
TV
world
show.
to see, bro.
It's like it's one thing to let him go, but it's one thing to watch you let him go.
Literally,
I can't believe it.
And they literally said like, what was it? The owner or whoever said like he wouldn't be able to sleep at night if Saquon went to Philly, and here we are. Fast forward, it's crazy.
You better get some Tylenol PM, brother. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, double up that melatonin.
Yeah, there was that, and what else was there? Oh, it was when the GM's asking his son, who should we draft, and the guy said the kid said Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels.
And he's like, you can't miss, and it's
everything. Just they fumbled the whole thing. I mean, they ended up with Malik Neighbors, to be fair, and that's who his son said is either Jaden Daniels. If you can't get Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
and he'll be good for a long time too. But
yeah,
at least he didn't make a bad pick, I guess. But
bingo.
Really could have used Jaden Daniels.
Oh yeah, for sure. That also comes back all the way back to, I think, was it week 17 of not last season, the year before, when they won a game and they shouldn't have, and they dropped from the 2nd pick to the 5th pick. That's how they missed out on Jaden Daniels. Like it's crazy how the domino effect, bro. Like it's wild.
Yeah. Every year.
But Defensive Player of the Year, this to me was the biggest shock. The biggest shock. I didn't even have this guy pegged to win it at all, and it was Patrick Surtain Jr. of the Denver Broncos.
PS2.
Kid's a stud. He really is. The Denver Broncos had a great defense last year, and while I'm shocked by the selection, I really thought that it was going to be, like a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett. I understand the selection though, because again, like I just said, he was on the best defense last year. That team made the playoffs. I don't see how you can give it to Trey Hendrickson or even a Myles Garrett when their teams were just awful. Especially Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, he was the NFL sack leader, but their defense was in shambles last year. So I don't know. When I saw it, like the shock factor was like had me like wow, and I really thought about it. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
The shock for me doesn't come from the player so much because he's a great player, but the position. Like, how often do you see a cornerback win Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, never.
It's like a running back winning MVP. Like, cool, that's awesome, but like you don't see it. And Saquon probably should have won it this year, bro. For being honest, but it's a QB's award, and it just doesn't happen. And I don't know, man. The voting for that was so weird this year. Like, you had PS2 who won it. You had TJ Watt, as usual. You have Zach Bond and then Trey Hendrickson. And like, you can't give it to Hendrickson because that defense was terrible, even though he was great. You can't give it to Zach Bond over Surtain, right?
No.
And then like TJ Watt had like that weird stretch at the end of the season where he didn't record a stat for like what, 3 or 4, I forget what the stat was, but like 3 or 4 games or something.
Yeah, I was so like when I saw the finalists, I was like shocked that Myles Garrett wasn't there, bro. Like, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it came down to the last week of the season for who was the sack leader between him and Hendrickson. So it was weird. To be honest, the other player that I would have still been shocked about, but could have deserved it, is Zach Bond. We talked about him on the last episode or 2 episodes ago. I can't remember, but what a season that guy had. That's another pickup by Howie Roseman. Wow.
Yeah, I know. That guy's...
He's a great GM,
I know.
bro.
I don't know what to say about the Eagles, man. They just hit on everything, it seems like. I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, really good, really good. But let's touch on the MVP, man.
Yeah, best for last,
I guess. Listen, Josh Allen won the MVP award yesterday. First place votes for him were 27, 23 for Lamar Jackson. I didn't think that Josh Allen was going to win it. I don't think a lot of people thought that Josh Allen was going to win it. My question to you is, was Lamar Jackson robbed of his 3rd MVP?
Yes.
I agree.
No hesitation. Yes. And I'm telling you, I mentioned this a few weeks ago. It's voter fatigue 1,000,000%. Like, let's imagine a situation where Lamar Jackson had 0 MVPs going into that voting. I think he wins it. I really do. Like, his numbers across the board were better than Josh Allen's. That's all it comes down to. And bro, if you're giving me the choice, honestly, I'd probably give it to Saquon. I think Saquon was that good this year. Like, best player in the NFL right now, if you ask me. And I know, like, I just know running backs don't win it. Like, they just need to have crazy years while the quarterbacks don't. But forget Saquon for a second. Lamar just had a crazy year. And I think whoever gave Lamar a 4th place vote, and he did have one of those. And it's not Mito. He doesn't have a vote.
Crazy. That's crazy, bro.
If Mito had a vote, it might have been him. But how do you give Lamar a 4th place vote? Like, that's next level hate. I don't understand how that happened. And I don't know if that's what cost him at the end of the day, but I know it was super close. But man, you got to give it to Lamar. You just have to.
Yeah, I thought he deserved it. His season this year was better than his MVP season last year. So like I don't know, that's kind of make it make sense. Like, the math ain't mathin', bro. Like, it's just not adding up, So I don't know.
Whatever. I don't know, man. And I'm not going to throw the rigged word around or whatever, but I think it's really good for the NFL if Josh Allen has one, because he's that good of a player. But I don't know, man. It's tough.
No, yeah, it is tough. It's whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I don't have a horse in the race. I really don't care, but it's fine. Hey, bro, this guy's, man, look at her. Look at her.
Are we back?
No, look, I was talking and I looked. I saw she caught your attention before. I was wondering. I didn't know who it was, and I looked and look at her.
Let me tell you something. I put her to bed before we hit record. She scared the shit out of me just now.
That's
so
funny.
My back is turned to the stairs. And I just felt her kind of like sidle up against me.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I told her to go away from me for a few minutes.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
She's super cute.
Yeah, shout out to Amelia.
Shots out. I'm not editing this out either, so.
No, keep it. That's great.
For sure. But look, man, let's wrap this up with our Super Bowl picks. We'll dive into the Super Bowl recap and everything. Obviously, for the next episode, we should be on schedule for that Tuesday. I don't think anything's going to change there. But
we're releasing Wednesday.
Releasing Wednesday. We'll record Tuesday night.
Right.
But yeah, we'll release it Wednesday. But either way, let's get into these Super Bowl picks real quick. Actually, before we get into the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, real quick. Dan Campbell robbed of Coach of the Year. Joke. The biggest sham, the biggest BS. Whatever. Awards aren't that serious, but it was bullshit. It was bullshit.
It was, and it is a joke. I don't care.
Yeah,
like, that Mike Tomlin meme, like, we do not care.
Yeah.
We should not care, bro.
No,
he's our coach. We love him. He's great. I don't care about some silly award someone can hang on their fireplace at home. Like, great. I get the argument for O'Connell. Like, they were projected to win like 5 or 6 games. The Vikings were.
Right.
He did a great job. But yeah, giving it to the coach who lost to the other one twice. Talk about the math, not mathing. It's not.
Facts. Who do you got for the Super Bowl, man?
Eagles. I'll give you a score prediction. I'm going to say 24-20.
24-20. I have Mahomes and the three-peat. Score prediction 31-28.
Oh, high scoring too.
Vegas has it, I think, at 48.5, the over-under. So.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, 2 best defenses in the league, if you ask me.
Yeah, they're really good. That's why, though. Like, right, 2 good defenses, and then the offense just shows up. So
yeah, I mean, I just really don't want the Chiefs, and I have a feeling they're just going to pull it out because of the Chiefs. And I'm not like playing both sides of the fence, but I don't know, man. I think the Eagles are a better team. Like, I think they have the better roster. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs have the better coach and quarterback. So I can't bring myself to pick the Chiefs because I don't want to.
I get it. It's fine. And we'll dive more into it. We'll dive more into it.
I'm just so sick
episode.
of them, bro. I'm sorry. I hope I speak for
cool.
everyone. I'm so tired of them. It's like the Patriots all over again. Like,
I mean,
that's what it feels like.
It's really like your voter fatigue and Lamar Jackson, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You just
true that.
People, you can only be so successful. You can't be too successful. Just enough to be tolerable, and the Chiefs aren't that anymore. But I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to make history.
Me?
I did. I'm sorry. But we'll see, man. It's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. And we'll be back on Tuesday to give you our thoughts on the Super Bowl and kind of wrap up the NFL season. This is the last football game of the season. The drought is coming, bro.
Goes by so fast.
Facts. So, I think that's going to do it for us, though, man. Appreciate you guys for listening. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on our socials. Give us a follow. Drop a like. Leave a comment. If you listen to our podcast, audio only, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate you guys as always. Love you guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. Ryan, go ahead and sign us off, man.
All right. And as always, may your Kool-Aid stay blue and your head stay cheesy. Peace out. I'm going to put my kid to bed.
Hey, peace.
Later.